Welcome to What's Going On, the weekly podcast and videocast of First United Methodist Church in Yankton, South Dakota. Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of What's Going On. I'm Pastor Katie here at First United Methodist, and I'm glad you could join me for this episode. I know that I had teased that we'd be missing an episode, but turns out I have capacity to do another one. So here I am. When this episode goes out, I will actually be out of the office taking a very small vacation. And I thought I would take this opportunity to talk about our staff in the church, because as it also went out in the newsletter this month, it was announced this fall. I've talked about it a little bit, but this summer I'm going to be taking some renewal leave. And as I've been thinking about just this tiny little vacation that I'm doing now and how excited I am to just have a few days away, all of that is possible. And I feel good about being able to do those things because of the staff that we have. And so I want to talk a little bit about our staff and how amazing they are, and ways that we can, as a church, treat them and support them as they do work for the mission of the church. And I say that very specifically because sometimes we get a misconception that the staff is there to do work for us. But the reality is the staff is here to facilitate and to help support the mission of the church. And the mission of our church is to make disciples of Jesus Christ and to equip them for ministry in the world, or, for the transformation of the world. And our specific vision and mission is to be a church of hope, healing, and belonging that loves and serves all through Christ our Lord. And when I talk about the church, who is the church? We are the church together. The staff is here to help equip you to live out our mission together. It is not the staff's job to do the work of the mission for us, and it's not the church's job as a whole to dictate to the staff how that's done. So I just want to talk a little bit about that and to clarify kind of how that all works. And again, in the process, express my gratitude and thanks for the amazing people who have committed to spending some of their time furthering our mission in the world and in Yankton. So with that, if you are unaware, we do operate with a fair amount of staff, especially for the size of church that we are, but most of our staff is very part-time. We do have a few that are here quite often. And then I would also say that we have a few members of our church that are here quite often that are not officially staff, but at this point they might as well be because they have given so much of themselves. But I digress. So obviously I am full-time staff. I'm the pastor of the church. I'm the sole pastor, which is that transition has been since my coming. This church used to operate with a pastor, a senior pastor, and associate pastor, but during the pandemic, that got switched to just one. And part of the role of the staff is to take some of the stuff that the associate pastor used to do kind of off of my plate. So anything that the pastor has done historically, some of that might be done now by church staff. And usually they take things off that don't don't require being a pastor to do. And so I'm here full-time. That is yeah, that's who I am. I'm the pastor. There's a lot I do. There's a lot of things that I think you maybe don't realize. That the joke is always that pastors work one day a week, right? You only work on Sundays. No, that's not even remotely true. I do work on Sundays, and actually at this point put in almost a full day. I'm usually at the church at this point by 6:30 Sunday mornings, and I'm often the last one to leave Sundays as well. And Sundays are my most public day. Obviously, we have our worship service that I'm leading. I also teach our disciple Bible study in the mornings. If we have our leadership team meets on Sundays, not every Sunday, but on those, I'm obviously a part of that as well. I offer new member classes on Sundays. It's for many people, the only time in the week that I see them. And so that's time that I'm connecting with people as well and greeting and finding out what's going on. And so it's a very people-y sort of day. During the week, some of the things that I spend my time doing, obviously, I'm prepping for the service. My big, I think, time thing comes around preaching. Every week, I'm writing a new sermon, I'm researching, I'm reading, and then I also create all the slides for the sermon, and that is my process. I fully write sermons. We call it manuscripting. And then I go back and as I'm editing, I add in where the slides go. And so if you ever wondered like how am I controlling the slides? I'm not. Someone in the back has the script of my sermon with in the sermon there are notations of when you change the slides. And it works pretty well because it's not all that often that I go off script, and if I do, I come back to it. And the people who run the computer have been doing really well at kind of learning how to follow me on that. So um, that's a big part of my week. The other big part of my week is prepping for any of the things that I'm teaching. So Sunday morning class, Tuesday lunch study, and confirmation. So I have lessons usually for those three things that come up every week. I also do a podcast every week. That is another opportunity for me to get to talk. Obviously, this is what you're listening to right now. It's more off the cuff, but it's sharing a little bit more about things that maybe um, I want people to know about, but it's not appropriate to use the pulpit for that or to use up worship time for that. It gives me just another avenue to be able to talk to people. I also am managing staff. A big part of my role, so is that pretty much all of the staff, I am their supervisor, that I am helping them, guide them, support them in what they are doing, that we are making decisions, either that the staff are, keeping in touch with me, letting me know what's going on, or me kind of giving vision and direction for what they should be doing or problem solving. So that's part of the work that I do. I also am working with leadership team, getting things prepped for that. Anything that they have in the works oftentimes needs someone kind of who's here to touch base. And so that's another piece that I do, as well as dealing with any pastoral emergencies that come up. If someone ends up in the hospital, I try to be there to visit them. If people are emailing, calling, texting, needs, pastoral needs, I'm there, like I'm responding to those things. People coming into the office and visiting, I'm responding to that. And so there's a lot of times where um, none of my days ever quite look the same. And there's part of me that really loves that part of the job. I also will be doing worship planning, so deciding on, scriptures and I pick out music for our traditional services, but also any sort of liturgy and make those plans in advance so that the other staff have time to make their plans and input around that. So, and I also just for fun on the side, I edit the radio broadcast half of the month, and I put up the edit this and put those things up in the sermon on Monday. That's all me. And then I create slides for the announcements that people want. So again, there's just pieces of all of this everywhere that I do. So we also have Lisa in the office, who is the office manager, and I believe I am her third pastor at this church. She has outlasted us all. And she is phenomenal and just a credit to her profession for sure. Lisa is often, if you come to the church during the week, she's the first face you're going to see, and she deals a lot with a lot of the information that we hold in the church. If you have questions about your giving, Lisa can help you with that. She also, one of the changes we made since me coming here is when people come to ask for help, Lisa and I created some policies around how we're going to handle that and how often we'll help and kind of the things that we'll help with. And so she becomes sort of the first fence for that, because what I was finding is that was taking an inordinate amount of my time and not letting me serve the church properly. And so she does some of that work of one, knowing if what we have to give, to keeping track of who we've helped, and and just kind of providing that baseline. Now, there are people that come in that what they want is to speak to a pastor and to have prayer, and I'm happy to do that. But Lisa helps to suss that out. So that's been invaluable to me that she was willing to take that on. Lisa also took on kind of coordinating the ministerial here in Yankton in the last year, and they couldn't be more pleased with the work that it's very minimal work in her mind, but for them it was incredibly helpful. But she is the one that kind of holds all their information as well. There's so much more that she also is putting together bulletins and newsletters, and she's managing the website, and she's sending out those Friday emails that has everything, all the information in it, uh, coordinating just all kinds of things. If anybody needs the building for anything, that has to go through Lisa. Like she does so much, and she's the keeper of so much knowledge. And when she's not here, I am totally useless. When people come in asking wanting Lisa and she's not here and I'm here, I'm like, oh, well, you're gonna have to wait because I don't know a lot of what she does. And Craig is the other one who's here quite often. And Craig is our facilities manager, and he's here to keep the church clean and safe. And we are so grateful. He also will take on a variety of hats. He's been in the office before, filling in for Lisa. And then on Sundays, there's just so much behind the scenes things that Craig will just take care of. And it's one of those situations you don't quite realize all the things that he does and knows until he's not here for a week, and then you feel it. We also have on staff Diane Kish, that she is our financial assistant. So she does, between her and Lisa, they kind of split the work, but Diane's paying all the bills. She's getting paychecks and that kind of thing ready. She also works with our treasurer to get those things signed and off to the people that they need to go to. Diane also sits on our leadership team and helps to track budget and answer any financial questions that way. She's invaluable and we love her. And she keeps us all on task, which is great because we want to be a church that people feel safe, knowing where their money is going, how it's being used, that there's receipts for everything, that everything's above board. And Diane is amazing at all of that. So that's the work that she does. And again, perfect situation of the right person with the right skill set in the right position. Diane also does a lot of filling in for Lisa in the office, and she's quite efficient and quite knowledgeable. So she's a good person to have there as well. Another person we have on staff is Susan Thorson as our parish nurse. We are one of the few churches that are blessed with a parish nurse still. And Susan has taken on a lot of the visiting. This is one piece that when we went down to one pastor, it became difficult for me to visit as often as I would like and still be able to do the work I needed to do here. And so Susan really takes on checking in, especially with our homebound, with our nursing home, with those who are not able to be here all the time. And then also following up with any sort of emergent needs. And so again, if you have an emergency, if you know you're going to be in the hospital with a surgery, please let me know. I'm happy to be there for you. But then typically the follow-up will be Susan, and Susan and I are in communication all the time. She's always letting me know how people are doing. And if at any point that if you are someone that Susan is visiting and you would like a visit from me, I'm more than happy to come. But typically you have to request it because I just don't have a big gap in my schedule to be able to do visits sort of unannounced. When we went down to one pastor, that was one of the things that became very challenging. And Susan has really stepped up to help me. And I know that that's been a change. And so I just please know that I'm happy to visit and would love to come visit. But if you can let me know that you would love me to come visit, that helps so much. And Susan, again, has been such a resource and a valuable resource that way. We also have Danny Fromm, who is our member care coordinator, and the big parts of her job are recruiting for our volunteer positions within the church, in particular for greeters, ushers, fellowship hosts, and then letting people know and inviting people in. This has been a relatively new position, but it's one of the more challenging jobs in the church because for as big of a church as we are, people are not quick to jump in and volunteer with things. And so we always have to have someone kind of trying to manage that. And again, that can take up quite a bit of time trying to call people and encourage people and get people to say yes. And so I would encourage you that one of Danny calls you to try to find a way to plug in. Two, don't wait. Those sign-up sheets are always there. And we'd love to even just get people into sort of a rotation so that it just becomes natural. They're not difficult jobs, but they are important jobs. And we do need people to fill in those things. And so if that's something that you can do to help Danny out, I think that would be wonderful. On our children and youth side of the church, we have Tiffany, who is our youth group coordinator. This is a role that she took on when she came on with us full time for a while. And when she decided to go back in the school system, it was the role that she did not want to give up because our youth are amazing. And she's really built an incredible program there. And so you'll see Tiffany around on Wednesday nights leading our middle school and high school youth. And she's been doing a fantastic job, and we love her very much. And then we have Sarah, who's our children's ministry coordinator, is one of the roles that she does. She is dual role here in the church. She does children's ministry coordination and praise team. She came into us with praise team, but has always had a heart for children and has many years experience in Christian education and vacation Bible school. And so she's kind of taken on that role, and that's been a process of figuring out how to match her strengths and skill sets and visions with what the church has known and melding those together to create something that is new and dynamic and exciting. But anytime we make changes like that, it can take a little while to kind of find the right groove. And so again, those are one of those areas of like, how can we be gracious in that time of transition, and how can we allow the people that got us called into those roles to flourish with the strengths that they have, and understand that things kind of flow and change, which they do. It happens every time a pastor position changes. It happens anytime any of our roles change. And we've had quite a bit of that in our staff lately. Another one of our staff members who's kind of taken on many roles recently is Jill Wilson, who, when I came, was already doing multiple roles. She's the organist, and so she plays at all of our traditional worship services. And she was, at that point, also the choir director for our chancel choir. She still does both of those things, but since that time has added on 3 new roles, which is just incredible, and we are so grateful. She also is now the Jubilee Bells choir director when our previous bell choir director moved away, and just very recently has taken on and launching the youth bells, and I believe that they're playing this Sunday. And then she also this year took on the Kids Hope director position, which is a mentoring program that we have in partnership with Beadle Elementary. And so she recruits and trains up and supports our mentors in that program. We also have Allison Spock on staff with us. Allison you'll see her every Sunday running the soundboard, but she's also taken on the technology coordinator position, which helps to coordinate the volunteers around that back booth on Sunday mornings. So people running the ProPresenter, the slides, the streaming, and then she's doing the work to prep those things. I said that I make the slides for announcements, and I'll make slides for my sermon, but everything else you see in the service, that's Allison doing that work. And making sure that all of that is in place, and making sure that there's volunteers in place, and that all the technology that we need to run all of that is working. That is her role, and that is her area of expertise. We also have on staff with us Carla Hummel. Carla is our missions coordinator. And so we are in the middle of a blanket drive that goes through Valentine's Day. Carla is the one that brought that to us and invited us to be a part of it. She helps to coordinate Loads of Love, the laundry ministry that we continue to support in conjunction with Trinity Lutheran and the UCC Church. She is the one in talks with the banquet, and she she also fundraises for all of this as well, but she's always connecting our church to the needs of the community and beyond, and inviting us to be the hands and feet of Jesus in that way. And she also helped with the mead tree this year. So she's picking up different things, but she really is the point person for missions in our church. And again, all of these people are under my supervision. They're being directed through kind of the overarching vision of who we are as a church and where we're headed and what we're doing. And so uh, I hope that you are telling our staff people how amazing they are and how grateful you are for them, because again, they are here to support the mission of the church, and they are doing work to help make the church function in a way that is useful to everybody. But they are not here, again, to do the work for you. I've known many churches in the past who have struggled that when there is staff, they kind of have an attitude of, well, I'm paying you to do that. Really, the staff is just like I am. The staff is here to support and to help and to encourage and to equip you to be the church. And so I think our staff does a wonderful job of that. And I am, again, so incredibly grateful for each and every one of them and the work that they do, and the commitment that they've made to this church. And I encourage all of you as the church to be super supportive of our staff and to find ways to support the work that they're doing. If they need volunteers, that if you have that capacity, that you're doing that as well. We also have some incredible regular volunteers in the church that I do want to give a shout out to. A special shout out to Carol Becker, who she's one of those that, I joked before that like we have people that might as well be staff at this point. Carol has done such a wonderful job in 605 and being the coordinator for the meals for 605 every Wednesday. She's so faithful, and she's here and she's prepping for that and doing that work, all volunteer. And I know that she does it not for the things that she has a heart for the children of the church, and that really is what feeds her soul. But I do want to give a shout out there. I want to give a shout out to all of the volunteers that work with her in that ministry. Give a shout out to our volunteers who are teaching Sunday school, leading small groups. Again, we have quite a few, again, that are unpaid. They're not on staff with church, and yet they are offering their time and their talents in that way. We've got, the leaders of like our United Women in Faith and other groups that really take a lot of time. And then we have people that just take care of things. Shout out to Lisa Larson, who also does editing for our radio broadcast. These are things behind the scenes that people don't realize that people just do, that is what they offer. I give credit to like Jason, who makes the communion bread every month, and that's one of the ways that he gives back. But there's also people who come in and fill all of those little cups with grape juice and make sure that they are all ready to go, and that all of that gets prepped and set up on Sunday mornings. That's all volunteer stuff. And the people who come in and fold and tape the newsletter shut before they go out for mailing, and the women who come in every Monday morning, unless it's a holiday, then Tuesday morning, to count all the giving that we take in on Sunday morning. Volunteer positions. Like, there are so many people that work so hard to help make this church be fruitful in the ministry and mission work that we do. And I also believe that there are so many more people that have yet to truly jump in and offer something and help to grow our impact as a church. As there are so many that have begun that work and have done that work. The leadership team, again, another incredible committed group of people who've committed to 3-year terms of making decisions for the church, of doing this hard work, of trying to, we've got our HR side of things, we've got our facility and building side of things. We got our financial side of things, and that leadership team is really committed to coming together and being the leaders of the church and having vision and moving forward and making decisions according to who we are and who we want to be. And that's no small thing. That's a big thing, and that's unpaid as well. Again, so shout out to our leadership team as well. Um, but I think the biggest thing for us we need to remember is that the church, while we are all here to serve the church, the purpose is that we are here to serve and enable you to live out the mission. Again, that it's not the job of the staff to do the mission of the church. It is the church's job to do the mission of the church, and the staff makes it possible. We do that background work to make it possible for you to live out your calling from God, for you to participate in the spreading of the kingdom of God here and now. And so um, I would encourage you that if you haven't lately said thank you to the staff that are here every week doing this background work, um, please do so. Please do so. And if you have thoughts and ideas of something that maybe isn't getting done, or you maybe have an idea for a different way to do things or something new, please let me know or let the leadership team know. Um, and to request like, hey, I just want to throw some ideas by you, or hey, have you noticed this, or hey, how can we work together to figure this out, because we're all on the same team, we're all part of the same community, and we all have the same mission. um, and we all must remember that if things are not the way that if the church is not living into its mission, that we need to course correct. But that is not the same thing as the church not doing things in the way that we think they should be done. Because remember that our staff and our leadership team, that they have a different vantage point and a different view of how things are getting done. And it's important to trust in them, that they are following the guidance that has been given them, that they are living faithfully into the calling that they have been asked, and that they are being held accountable in the ways that they need to be held accountable. Um, I truly, it's a big part of why I love being at this church, or the people that I get to work with. It's been truly, truly, truly the greatest blessing for me. And I love this church, and I know that all of you are so incredible. And I just encourage you to continue to lift one another up, to encourage one another, to build one another up. These are all words that Paul used in talking to Christians about how to live in community with each other. And so I'd encourage you to find ways that if you are not plugged in, how can you get plugged in? Even if it is just at this point, my job is going to be encouragement. I'm going to send notes to the people in this church that are doing some heavy lifting right now, and to let them know that, hey, I see you, and hey, I appreciate what you are doing, because it is needed, it is valuable, and we are grateful for you. And so, those are my two thoughts, because when I step out for either a few days or a few weeks, it is the staff of the church that really will take on a lot of those pieces to keep our church moving and healthy and going. And I think that's wonderful. And I think that's very United Methodist of us, that we have strong lay leadership in the church, and that the pastor can come in and out and provide spiritual leadership, but things are not dependent on the pastor. They're dependent on you, because you are the church, not me. I am part of serving the church. I'm part of the picture, but I am not the whole picture. And so to me, the mark of a healthy and good church is if a pastor can step out and everything still functions and runs, we are doing something right. And I feel at this point that that's where we are. And that makes me excited to be able to care for myself in the ways that I need, and also for the church to do the same. And so those are the thoughts I have today. So thank you to all of my amazing staff, to all of the amazing volunteers, and to all of the amazing people who are part of First United Methodist. It is truly a blessing to get to call this place home. Until next time, God bless.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of What's Going On, a video and audio podcast of First United Methodist Church in Yankton, South Dakota. We'd love to have you join us for worship on Sundays at 10 a.m., either in person or via our live stream, which can be found at our website, www.firstumcyankton.org, or by searching First UMC Yankton on YouTube.